Hey guys, so we are back with a, I guess for me now at this point, semi-rare Dokkan Battle news video. On JP Dokkan, we have some new EZA information. Of course, as part of the 7th year anniversary, we have 4 characters that are getting their EZA. We have TEQ, Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. I remember when this guy dropped. It was like one of the most hyped things ever in Dokkan because it was on the same time on Global and JP. And to go along with him, of course, we have the physical Omega Shenron. Then we have the TEQ God Goku and then the STR God Vegeta as part of when the AGL Super Saiyan Gogeta that transforms into Gogeta Blue and physical Broly released. So let's go ahead and just jump right in here. I did the translations for these characters, so of course this is Gogeta here. So Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta Peerless Gleam. What I've done here, and what I like to do for these EZA characters is I like to have the pre-EZA information next to the post-EZA information so that you can clearly see what has changed from this unit's pre-EZA form to the post-EZA form. So let's just start with Gogeta here. So the leader skill goes from a 150% lead of fusion category to 170 across the board, which is pretty good. And then just a normal tech lead from 50 to 100. I mean, I don't really think anybody's really going to be throwing on non-fusion tech units for this leader skill, but 170 across the board for fusion definitely is very, very good. Of course, now we have the essentially what they are is 200% leader skills from the new LRs that released during the 7th year anniversary. So it's funny because we look at this leader skill now and it's like, well, I guess it's not terrible. But this is actually a very, very good leader skill. Super attack went from greatly raised attack and defense for 1 turn and causes immense damage to greatly raised attack and defense for 1 turn and causes immense damage, and now he greatly lowers defense. So honestly, not a big upgrade in terms of the super attack effects, but the super attack should be hitting a little bit harder, of course, due to the 5 extra super attack levels they get through their EZAs. So the passive prior to EZA was 120% attack, extreme class enemies attack and defense minus 20%, great chance of evading enemies super, and countering with tremendous power. So what this becomes now is he gets attack and defense 150%, so no longer is he starting off the turn with 0% defense. Obviously a much more modern take on these units here. Extreme class enemies attack and defense still is minus 20%, which is still very good, honestly, in Super Battle Road events where enemies can have their attack and defense lowered. Attack lowering is actually pretty good. You guys should probably know that at this point. The big one that comes to mind when I think of that is the STR Omega Shenron. High chance for attacks to be effective against all types. So I guess he has a 50% chance for, you know, at this point, it's pretty much the Gogeta mechanic, right? All of these Gogetas at this point have that effect pretty much. So I'm looking at this and I'm thinking like you might be better off just giving this guy max additional for 2 reasons. Number one, he's going to benefit from the additional just because he's basically getting an extra 50% defense from his super attack effect, which is already pretty good. And then on top of that, now he has a 50% chance for his attacks to just be effective against all types. So I think you should take the advantage of the 1 stone on. If you guys are global players and you're looking at this unit right now, it's probably better just to invest in this guy's hidden potential right now and change. If you guys have this a guy at 20 crit, which I do, I'm going to go in and I'm going to change this all to additional because I think it's just more powerful with the effect that he has here now. Then he gains an additional attack and defense. This is a new mechanic, by the way. I don't think any of the unit has this. An additional attack and defense plus 25% for 5 turns every time when performing a super attack. And then there's a max of 50%. So basically what this is saying is if you attack twice, you get a 50% buff, and it's 25, obviously 25% every time you stack it up. But the buff, each instance of those buffs only lasts for 5 turns. So if you do a super attack and then you get an additional super attack, those 2 buffs will fall off and expire after 5 turns. I guess is what this is saying. It'll be much more clear once we see this in game, but that's what the wording says. And then, of course, retains the great chance of evading enemies' super attacks and countering with tremendous power. So this guy definitely looks very, very good. I think taking a look at his stats here. I mean, let me actually just pull up quickly the page here for his stats. It's like Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta Dokkan Wiki. Let's see here. So his stats, once he's EZA, I don't even think they have the stats here. I did not do the calculations myself because I honestly just wasn't ready for this, but he has right now 17,500 attack and 9,675 defense. I mean, just quickly eyeballing this, he'll probably have something close to like 20,000 attack, or plus or minus like 500, I would think. And then defense is probably going to be something like 11,000. So his stats are definitely looking very, very good. I definitely expect this guy to be pretty damn good. And of course, the super attack countering, the fact that it's a great chance, 70%. I believe he's the only character in the game that actually can do that still. I think everybody else that has a counter has a 50% chance of being a counter, or less. So, yeah, that's TEQ Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. Looks pretty good. Next, we have the physical Omega Shenron that dropped alongside Gogeta. So he went from being a 150% lead to Shadow Dragon Saga to finally we have a 170 leader for Shadow Dragon Saga. This is the first ever 170 leader Shadow Dragon Saga, because when the Int Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta dropped, he was also a 150 lead to Shadow Dragon Saga. So it's nice to see them finally giving that category a little bit of extra love there. Super attack effect was causes immense damage to enemy and greatly lowers defense. That changes to raises defense for 1 turn and causes immense damage to enemy and greatly lowers defense. Now this raised defense for 1 turn effect is going to be pretty good for him, and then I'll explain that in a few seconds. But passive goes from attack 120, all enemies attack and defense minus 20%, and then launches an additional attack which has a chance to become a super attack. That turns into attack and defense plus 150%, so that's kind of similar to what Gogeta had. All enemies attack and defense minus 20%, that is the same. Then he gains an additional attack and defense plus 10% per attack performed, and then he launches an additional attack which has a medium chance to become a super attack. So that just chance to become a super attack now becomes a medium chance. So let me quickly go over to here. Let me filter this by, I guess, Shadow Dragon Saga. That'll allow us to pull up Omega here. So Omega Shenron, stats definitely a little bit lower in terms of the offensive side of things as compared to Gogeta, but his defense is basically 10,000, so I expect this guy to be at probably around like 18,500 attack, maybe pushing 19,000 attack, and then defense is probably going to be like 12,000 or so. Let me see if it tells us. Yeah, so his attack, his additional attack chance basically went from 10% chance for an additional super attack to a 30% chance to become an additional super attack from the wording, right? So just a regular chance, this was 10%, and we know that a medium chance now is a standard 30%. So he kind of has that the physical EZA cooler effect as well, where he's gaining 10% attack and defense per attack performed. Again, very similar to physical cooler's EZA, but I think the reason why this guy's actually going to be better than people think is obviously his link set. He just got a ridiculously powerful partner with the TEQ Sin Shenron. They'll share a lot of links together. And then this raises defense for 1 turn effect. I think people are going to highly underrate this because of the fact that he can additional and super attack 3 times in 1 turn. So if you get, honestly, even just two stacks of this raises defense effect for 1 turn with super attack, that's going to allow him to reach really, really high levels of defense when you take into consideration the fact that he's going to have like Shadow Dragon active, GT is going to be active, Big Bad Bosses is going to be active. Like, take a look at some of these links here. Big Bad Bosses is 25% defense, Shocking Speed is 5% defense, GT is 10% defense, Shadow Dragon is 20% defense. So like when you take into account all of those links being active, on top of the fact that he's getting a stacking defense effect from his passive, starting with 150% attack and defense, and then also further increasing his defense by 30%, potentially 3 times per turn, he's going to be really good. And of course, don't forget the fact that he's lowering enemies' attack by 20%. So I feel like this guy's going to be very, very good. All right, so moving on to, I'm going to do God Goku last for a very specific reason. Let's do God Vegeta next. So let's see what they have to say about God Vegeta. So he is basically just a 130% lead to Super STR, nothing crazy. These units were never used for the leader skills, so whatever. The super attack effect went from greatly raises attack and causes supreme damage to enemy to greatly raises attack and causes supreme damage to enemy and greatly lowers defense. So I don't really think this really got that big of an upgrade. In fact, I would say it probably didn't even change at all. Greatly lowering defense is really not that important. So the old passive was key plus 3, attack and defense plus 100%, high chance of guarding all attacks. So, I mean, this is the thing that I really am not a big fan of for Vegeta. The high chance to guard all attacks. And just to cheat a little bit, he does retain that once he EZAs. Because the thing with this ability is you have no idea when it's active and when it's not active. I would have a much less of a problem with this effect if at the start of the turn there was some indication that told you whether or not this effect was active or not. Because without you knowing if it's active or not, you have to assume that it's not active. So I think that that's the biggest weakness of why these like high chances to do things like at the start of turn are just not very good. Then he has a high chance of stunning the attacked enemy when there's a movie boss's category enemy. Okay, so now when he's EZA'd, he gets Ki +3 and attack and defense plus 150%. High chance of guarding all attacks, so again, retains this ability, which I'm not a huge fan of. Gain an additional attack and defense plus 77% after receiving an attack for 3 turns. This is a part of his passive where I think people are going to very highly underrate this unit. This 77% extra buff is a separate calculation, separate from this 150% at the start of turn. So this is actually going to buff him a lot. His attack and defense is going to skyrocket once he gets hit. But the thing is, like, again, if he doesn't guard, he'll be hit very hard, right? It's just that's the main thing with this. Then he has a medium chance to perform an additional super attack. So that is very similar to like the 6-year LRs. You have Evolution Blue Vegeta and AGLUI Goku. They both have the same effect in their passive. So just a 30% chance to do an additional super attack. And then he has a great chance of stunning the attacked enemy when there is a movie bosses or Pure Saiyan's category enemy. This is a super, super powerful effect because, for example, take Pure Saiyan Extreme Super Battle Road. One of the hardest events in the game. Well, actually, it's not a really good example because Pure Saiyan, I don't even think there's Pure Saiyan enemies in there. They're all hybrids, right? I don't know, like any stage that has a Pure Saiyan enemy. There's a lot of stages, by the way, that in this game that have Pure Saiyan enemies. You take this guy into a stage that has Pure Saiyan enemies, and you put this guy as a floater, like let's just say, for example, and similarly to how like STR Super Vegeta works with his super attack that has a guaranteed chance to stun the enemy. I mean, this is not a guaranteed chance, but it's a 70% chance to stun. Plus, you have multiple chances for it to get off. For example, you activate this medium chance to perform an additional super attack. You then have 2 chances to stun the enemy. Two 70% chances to stun the enemy. That's pretty good odds. So the chance that you just guaranteed stun the enemy for 1 turn adds a lot of utility and defense to this unit intangibly through this effect. So, and not to mention the fact that it's not just Pure Saiyan, it's also movie bosses. So the breadth of characters that this applies to is actually pretty big. But that is Vegeta. Now let's go ahead and take a look at Goku. Now the reason why I decided to do Goku after Vegeta was because I feel like this Goku is just head and shoulders better than Vegeta in almost every single way. And it's funny because I felt the same way when they released initially too. Like Goku was a Rainbow Orb Changer. He's sealing, and I just feel like what he was bringing to the table for his teams was just at a much higher and more valuable level than Vegeta's, and I still feel like that's the case even after their EZA. Like they didn't make them even, I don't think. So super attack leader skill, nothing too crazy. The super attack was the God Bind, supreme damage to enemy and seals super attacks. That's just, you know, pretty standard super attack effect for what it was back in the day when it came out. So now he raises defense for 1 turn and causes supreme damage and seals super attacks. That's pretty good. Gets an extra 30% defense raise on the super attack effect. His passive was Ki +3, attack and defense plus 100%. Then he obviously did a Rainbow Orb change, so that was one of the reasons why he was so good. Attack plus 7% in addition per Rainbow Ki Sphere obtained. And then he reduces damage received by 77% when there is a movie bosses category enemy. So now post EZA, he's getting Ki +3 and attack and defense plus 150%, so that's already pretty good. He obviously retains the Rainbow Orb changing, and then he gets an additional attack and defense plus 7% in addition per Ki Sphere obtained. So they removed the Rainbow Ki Sphere condition for the 7% buffs. So that's, you know, let's just assume you get, what is this, like 6 Ki Spheres with this Goku. Boom, you're getting 42% extra attack and defense from that. And then on top of that, he's getting an additional attack and defense plus 77% when collecting 2 or more Rainbow Ki Spheres, which for him is not really that tough to do because he himself is Rainbow Orb changing. So he's a self-sufficient Rainbow Orb changing pseudo-nuking unit that needs 2 Rainbow Orbs, which I wouldn't really consider difficult for this character who's already doing that himself. And then here's the thing. So his last part of his passive has the same condition as the God Vegeta we just looked at. Damage received, minus 77% when there is a movie bosses or Pure Saiyans category enemy. So against any enemy that is a movie boss or Pure Saiyan category enemy, it doesn't even have to be against one of these enemies, as long as one of these enemies exists. So if you're, let's just say, for example, you're fighting like 5 enemies, and one of those 5 enemies is a movie boss or a Pure Saiyan, you're going to have this active, right? So I think the one that comes to mind is like in Super Class, Super Battle Road, Extreme Super Battle Road, the first fight is against that Resurrection F Frieza. Even if you're going to get supered by one of like the minions, that 77% damage reduction is still going to be active because there is an enemy who's a movie boss's category enemy. And then the same thing would obviously apply to the Pure Saiyans as well. So just comparing 77% damage reduction to a great chance to stun, I think I would take this one all day. I don't really think there's a comparison here. I mean, the stun is nice, and the stun is actually very good. I think people are going to underrate that stun effect, but I mean, this basically makes him unkillable almost, right? 77% damage reduction, plus the fact that he's starting the turn with 150% attack and defense. Then he's getting extra per orb obtained. Then he's getting 77% extra when collecting 2 more rainbow keys, which is very easy. And then he's raising defense and he's sealing. Yeah, this guy honestly might become a must run on like every team that he's available to be used on. He's just very good. A very, very powerful Realm of Gods buff that we haven't really gotten that many of this year. So those are the 4 EZA characters that we are getting as part of the 7th year anniversary, at least part 1. Well, I guess this is technically part 2 of the anniversary. And we have not yet received any LR EZA as part of the anniversary yet, so I imagine as we get deeper into maybe part 3, we will receive information about potentially an LR EZA, so we will see if that actually transpires. Let me know down below what you guys think about these EZAs. Which one do you think is the best? Which one are you looking forward to the most? Hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I'll see you all in the next one.